Thank you. All right, so we are here to talk about resolution number 250781. Before we go into that, I want to give some context as to why we are here. Everything has a moment in time. We are in the 250th anniversary of this nation. And many people would like to not acknowledge the good, the bad, and the ugly as a part of history. But I think it's very important, matter of fact, vital, for us to recognize all chapters of American history so that we can have difficult conversations about things that happened and what we can do better and what we can do in the healing process. I don't know, I can speak for me, there are chapters in all of our lives that we don't want read out loud. That's right. But they did happen. And you can act like they didn't happen, but they exist. And only by facing those chapters can we confront ourselves to say, here's the things I did well, here's the things I need to do better, here's the things I'm doing from now on. America is no different than that. As we talk about the history of slavery in this country, one of the things that we are trying to define is what should be the qualifications for people who suffered that injustice that their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents went through that travesty. We should, and that's a difficult question because people experience the African diaspora differently. We gotta define how we do that. The second question before us is what should be some of the common sense remedies that we can employ as a nation, as a private sector. I can name the fact that many institutions in Pennsylvania, in this country, benefited from the free labor and atrocity of slavery. There are slaves buried under the White House that were completed in mass graves. Does the government have some responsibility to make whole those descendants? I think the answer is yes. If we look at institutions ranging from insurance companies to education institutions benefited through the process of slavery, should there be some compensation? And what could that possibly be? Could it be tax write-offs for descendants of slaves? Could it be scholarships for descendants of slaves that were taken advantage of? Other ethnic groups have benefited from that. If we talk about Native Americans, who now have been compensated to a degree through publicly owned land that was given back to them, as well as gambling, casinos that happened. There were Japanese internment camps, Korean internment camps that got compensation that was passed by the freedmen. So we want to look at those questions. We want to know also not just the federal, not just the private sector, but what is the city of Philadelphia's role and responsibility in this, in establishing a Freedmen's Bureau that will be a part of the solution. We have many guests here to give perspectives. This resolution is designed to begin the discussion, and so I'm very glad to have that. Ms. Stack, can you please call the roll?
Chairman Jones.
Present.
Vice Chair Lozada.
Present.
Councilmember Thomas. Councilmember Gaudier.
Present.
Councilmember Brooks. Councilmember Harity.
Present.
And Councilmember Young.
Thank you. A quorum has been established. Can you please read the title of the resolution 25781?
Authorizing the Committee on Public Safety to hold hearings to examine the potential establishment of an Office of Freedmen Affairs within the City of Philadelphia.
Thank you. I just want to recognize my member, Jamie Gaudier, who is long before I got on this train, done a lot of homework on that, and we relied, I attended a piece that you did at community college, which was so eye-opening in the sense that it's not one way, it's many views on this subject. Can you maybe give a comment or two?
Sure thing. Well, first, thank you so much for hosting this important hearing. It's a topic that definitely needs to be discussed, and I support the effort to create a Freedmen's office in the city of Philadelphia. For the past several years, my office has been helping to facilitate the Philadelphia Reparations Task Force, who has been focused on putting together a set of recommendations for reparations for Black Philadelphians. And this is work that is important to me. It has always, in part, been organized around this idea of a Freedmen's office. It came out of the organization in Cobra with Rashawn Williams and others who were involved from the very beginning. And in fact, one of the task force members who have worked really, really hard to put together some of these recommendations, particularly around the criminal legal sector, is Clara McClellan, and she's here today, also with students who have been helping her to put together the report. So I see this effort as intertwined. I'm fully supportive of what you're doing, and I look forward to the discussion today, and I see this as another step in the right direction, and I don't think it could come at a better time as we look towards our country's 250th birthday under a federal administration that would erase all of this. So it's really important that within these chambers, we're acknowledging not just the truth, but the debt that is owed because of the truth. Thank you.
So I want to also recognize the fact that we as a people weren't in this alone. There were abolitionists, there were freedom fighters, there were people who operated the Underground Railroad that did not have literally skin in the game, but stood up for what was right. They have to be acknowledged as a part of why we are here today. And I'm truly thankful for the Quakers and those abolitionists, that the Quakers, even till this day, have a strong support system to do what is right for all people. And we can't operate in a silo, and I'm so very thankful for them. Do any other members have something to say? Member Lazada.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. I just want to say thank you to each one of you who is here today and who's going to contribute to the conversation. I think it's important that we remember, right, that if we don't hold ourselves accountable for what has happened in the past and what role government played in the past, we will repeat it. And so I don't pretend to know Black history in its totality, right? But I think that I have learned a great deal of the roles that many people played in government in the city of Philadelphia through my past spaces of employment, who created opportunities for African Americans to learn about the truth of our history through the great Charles Blockson and Michael Cord and the work that they did establishing the African American Museum and telling the story of the President's House, that we find ourselves in a conflict today, right? And so I'm grateful for those conversations that we had and the lessons that I learned. I think I learned more in those engagement conversations that I learned from textbooks and class, right? It was through the community and the community telling the story and holding all of us accountable. And so I'm really looking forward to the conversation, but I also am grateful that each of you have stayed consistent and pushed to get us to where we are today. I'm looking forward to the conversation and to the establishment or the possibilities of establishing this office. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Any other members like to be recognized? Member Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank all that's participating in this hearing as well. It's important that we get certain messages out in open in the public so people can understand that there is a different story and a different side. So I just want to thank you all for participating.
Member O'Rourke, would you mind joining us up here? We see you and would like you to be a part of this hearing. Although you're not on the committee, we'd like your input. Thank you, sir. Thank you, member. Would you like to say anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just grateful to be asked to join for just a moment to listen in on something that has obviously, as Member Gautier has mentioned, is very timely.
I'm so thankful.
Thinking about all that was lost since Reconstruction and how much more we need to retain and gain back, I think is an appropriate conversation at all times. So just happy to listen in and see what will be discussed today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member O'Rourke. Ms. Steck, will you please read the names of the first panel to testify?
Obana Hagins, President of the Philadelphia Reparations Coalition for American Freedmen. Anthony Dickerson, Chief Compliance Officer from the Philadelphia Reparations Coalition for American Freedmen. Will Jackson, Administrator for the Philadelphia Reparations Coalition. And Rashawn Williams, a member of the Philadelphia Reparations Coalition.
Thank you very much. Please come up to the table and state your name for the record, and please begin your testimony.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Members of the chair, to the Crime and Safety Committee. Before I begin, I want the record to show that I am not speaking as an observer. I'm speaking as a fourth-generation chattel slavery survivor. My lineage traces directly to North and South Carolina. The Rolex on my mother's side, Ann Hagins, her side fought in the Civil War. My great-grandmother was the grandchild of an enslaved person, and she told me herself what sharecropping was and how it felt to live under that brutal system. This history is not abstract to me, it's very personal. And in honor of my ancestors, I sit here today and I'm honored to speak on their behalf. I am obviously in strong support of the establishment of the Office of Freedmen Affairs. And I wanted to be very clear from the very beginning so that there is no confusion, no misunderstanding, and no mischaracterization. This is not a favor. This is not a policy preference. This is not a symbolic gesture. The establishment of the Office of Freedmen Affairs is a constitutional obligation. American freedmen, the descendants of chattel slavery in the United States, they have a constitutional right to government protection, agency, and enforcement mechanisms that flow directly from the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution. This is where the conversation must begin. Most people are taught that the 13th Amendment simply abolished slavery. That teaching is incomplete. And because it is incomplete, it has allowed generations of government actors to evade their responsibilities. The 13th Amendment did two things. First, it abolished slavery and involuntary servitude. Second, this is the part that matters today. It granted Congress affirmative power to enforce that abolition by eliminating what the Supreme Court and the 39th Congress called the badges, vestiges, and incidents of slavery. That language is not simply poetic. Here in Philadelphia, City Council is the legislative body of this city. Functionally, it acts as the Congress of Philadelphia. With that role comes responsibility. Just as Congress was required to act on emancipation, City Council has the obligation to act where the consequences of slavery remain embedded in housing, policing, education, wealth, health, and public safety. This is not theoretical. This is not an historical abstraction. We are talking about real, measurable disparities. For example, the Brookings Institute did a study, and it showed that home ownership rates for American freedmen families in Philadelphia remain far below the city average, even when accounting for income. Neighborhoods historically built by freedmen, such as the original Philadelphia freedmen towns, the Black Bottom, that 7th Ward, that was all freedmen town. They have been undervalued and systematically denied investments for generations. American freedmen in Philadelphia face higher rates of violent crime and lower access to quality education. And these outcomes are tied directly to structural inequalities rooted in the legacy of slavery. When government is aware of the ongoing harms tied directly to the legacy of slavery and fails to act, that is not neutrality. That is constitutional failure. Let me be very clear about why an Office of Freedmen Affairs is necessary. Rights without enforcement mechanisms are meaningless. Let me repeat that. Rights without enforcement mechanisms are meaningless. You cannot claim equal protection while refusing to create the administrative structure required to deliver it. Philadelphia has offices for nearly every major population group, offices that coordinate policy, track data, advocate internally, and ensure government accountability. But the descendants of the enslaved people, those whose unfree labor built this city, financed its growth, and laid its economic foundation, have no dedicated office, no institutional advocate, and no formal agency charged with protecting their constitutional interests. That is not accidental. That is structural. So many say we already have different offices, right, for other populations, that resources are limited. But the Constitution is not negotiable. The Constitution is not negotiable. The law explicitly recognized American freedmen as a group with unique enforceable rights. To fail to act is to fail the Constitution itself. The question before City Council is simple. Will this body fulfill the duty promised and imposed by the 13th Amendment, or will it continue the long tradition of delay, deflection, and denial? The Constitution does not ask whether this is comfortable or not. It does not ask whether it is popular. It asks whether government will act. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery and imposed a duty on government to act. Equal protection exists because of that duty. City Council must act because the duty has not been fulfilled at all. The Office of Freedmen Affairs, again, is not a favor. It is not a favor. It's not optional. It's not symbolic. It is constitutional. It's a constitutional mandate. The same way we had off Dr. King Day, there was no question as to whether the children were going to have off. That's what this is. American freedmen are not asking for recognition. We are demanding compliance with the United States Constitution. City Council has the power. The Constitution gives council the mandate. The Office of Freedmen Affairs is not a request. It is your duty. Thank you very much.
Potentially should be the remedy. Thank you. Who's next? State your name for the record.
Peace. My name is Rashawn Williams. I was born and raised in Philadelphia. My ancestors reside in South Carolina and have since before the 13 colonies of the United States were formed in the late 1700s. I have worked on behalf of American freedmen and the issues around American freedmen for over 7 years, and thank the elders and forebearers whose work made it possible for me to be here today. During my time serving as the co-chair to the Philadelphia National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, I organized, lobbied, and authored and served as the co-chair for the Philadelphia Reparations Task Force, to which I've become well-versed in the subject at hand. And establishing an Office of Freedmen's Affairs is an ideal continuation of that work and almost a unilaterally accepted and agreed upon next step by organizers across the country who also work on behalf of reparations in order to address the ravages of slavery and Jim Crow in the United States. So, a little bit of history. In 1862, the Pennsylvania Freedmen's Relief Association was established. Okay, again, in 1862, the Pennsylvania Freedmen's Relief Association was established to support formerly enslaved Americans to transition into being free men and women in the North. Okay. In 1863, the Friends Association of Philadelphia, again, in 1863, the Friends Association of Philadelphia and its vicinities for the relief of colored freedmen was established. And in a part of that, the quote, Port Royal Experiment and quote, National Freedmen's Relief Association from the Sea Islands of South Carolina was successfully established. Its successful establishment inspired and moved the Federal Freedmen's Bureau to be enacted subsequently in 1865. Now, Philadelphia has had a Freedmen's Bank in South Philadelphia, the 7th Ward. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because this has been done already. Pennsylvania, Philadelphia has had Freedmen's Bureaus as well as a Freedmen's Bank, South Philly. After the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and the political tax on congressional acts, the legally protected, after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and political attacks on congressional acts to legally protect American freedmen, the National Freedmen's Bureau was disbanded and the trustees of the Freedmen's Bank confiscated all of its deposits, causing the bank to go bankrupt and eventually taking wealth and assets from freedmen communities. Philadelphia legislators have an opportunity to reverse those damages through this agency. So, what would the agency do? Well, ensure human rights, constitutional rights, community building, family restoration, epigenetic repair, a whole lot of stuff that I'm going to start to talk about in the presentation. So, Philadelphia is known as a city of firsts. I want to go through some of the other cities and states that have put together some sort of reparations legislation just so that we know we're not on an island. So, the state of California, the state of New Jersey, cities like Evanston, Illinois, Amherst, Boston, and Cambridge, Massachusetts, Wilmington, Delaware, Detroit, Michigan, St. Louis, Missouri, Durham, High Point, and Asheville, North Carolina, Providence, Rhode Island, St. Paul, Minnesota, Burlington, Vermont, and many more. But Philadelphia will be the first to establish a Freedmen's Office in this particular capacity, especially in the 21st century. So, Philadelphia has long been a leader in abolition and reparation. It is the only city in the nation that has a slavery disclosure law that requires institutions to produce statements of financial reparations. That's again, Philadelphia. And that work was largely pushed by NCOBRA, the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, in 2004 and 2005. Again, The city has a slavery disclosure law where businesses are to disclose their ties to slavery and provide statements of financial reparations where there are ties found. So Bill 040133-A and Bill 050615 have yet to garner a projected impact since they were established in 2004 and 2005, but they show promise, potential, and how Philadelphia has been a premier in freedom and justice. So, now, to get to the 39th Congress of 1865 and the Civil Rights Act of 1866, this is an opportunity to deliver on those things. Now let's jump to this slide. So, I believe folks have this like little colorful packet. I'm from Philly, I'm not reading, so you might hear a little yeah means and a little all rights, just as you follow me as I speak. I have this so that folks can see this history is not foreign to Philadelphia. We're continuing on work that was stopped. If folks want to learn more, they can speak with me afterwards, but this is enough information for folks to do their own research, specifically how South Carolina had the relationship with Philadelphia to make sure that folks were able to successfully be free in these United States of America. Next slide, please. So, this is the language that specifically speaks to the slavery disclosure law and financial reparations laws. So you all have that in your packet as well. You can do the research and it speaks on what the actual slavery disclosure law and financial reparations ordinance is supposed to do. Next slide as well. So I have this so that we can understand ecosystems. When we learned about ecosystems and ecology when we were like children, we learned how the frog had a relationship with the fish and how the fish had a relationship with the mosquito and how if this ate that. So city government, institutions, philanthropy, the private sector, the for-profit sector, these are all a part of the ecosystem that would make sure the Freedmen's office would flourish. So outside of what the federal government has the obligation and preparation to do, and the state, Philadelphia has the same. Next slide, please. So as we talk about timelines, to your point, every generation is covered as well as how the office can implement some of the practices of restoration similar to the other offices that have been established for other ethnic and cultural groups in the city of Philadelphia. Next slide, please. So I have this so that we can see in your packets a wheel of repair. As we understand and think about reparations or think about an Office of Freedmen's Affairs, we primarily think about dollars. But it's not too often that we think about epigenetic repair, healthcare and reparations, trauma-informed care, land repatriation, and restoring our actual environmental ecology. So this, again, is a reference for folks to continue to do their own research. It's colorful, it's bright, and it's specific to the various ways that the Office of Freedmen's Affairs could implement some of the elements of restoration to the community. Next slide, please. I also have this because it's important that each individual's journey is going to be different than the next. So freedmen are going to need their own personal profile so that they can identify their wealth gaps. They can identify their epigenetic trauma. And folks can kind of look at this as their own profile, where you could look at your wealth, you could look at your education, you could look at your mobility. This is designed so that as we're thinking about actually establishing the office and the work that it's going to do, we can see a template of how individuals can actually get the restoration that they need. Next slide, please. So I have these slides so that we really understand what Black Americans, American freedmen, folks whose ancestors were called Negro, all these different terms actually went through. I'm going to read some specifically from my notes. Next slide, please. So we have, first of all, there was something called the Negro Act and the Casual Killing Act. I just want y'all to do your own research on what the Negro Act was and what the Casual Killing Act was. We have the Fugitive Slave Act, the Missouri Compromise, Black Codes, convict leasing, the Sterilization Acts, Jim Crow laws. These were laws that were directly targeted to American freedmen, to Black Americans, to the American Negro. And to this day, some of these laws have yet to be disbanded, like the Negro Act, which basically made it illegal. For example, that's where we get the outlaw of the drum. They made it illegal for us to drum and gather. Just to give you some context, I want y'all to do your own research on some of these laws. Next slide, please. That's the black belt so that we can understand all of the work that our ancestors put into the South. Next slide, please. So when you talked about timelines, this is a timeline of the boosts and blocks economically in America to different cultural, racial, and ethnic groups. And I have this here as well as where it's cited from so that folks can, again, do their own research, like the GI Bill and black folks not being able to receive the benefits of such. Last slide. So I have this because ultimately it is about the restoration of the family, the restoration of the community, and the images that I'm using are specific so that we have options. This is the diplomatic option that we're taking. The next generation is not going to do the diplomatic option. Y'all do understand that, right? I'm talking to I'm not even talking to the, you know what I mean, right now. I'm talking to us. So we have the opportunity to do the diplomatic option so that we can rebuild the world before the next generation burns it and uses the ashes to grow something else. I'm being very clear about that. So in that, these images show our power and self-determination for us to do for self. Can you go back to the first slide, please? The very first one, all the way up. The thing that I want to emphasize is that the Office of Freedmen's Affairs is going to be us doing for self so that we can be well off. And y'all know when we good, the world is good. We've seen that time and time again. I asked that this body do what y'all know to do in your heart and your soul, and to comprehend that this work has already been done in the city of Philadelphia. We've had a series of successes from the mayor to the council body in the representation that we see. Philadelphia being a major contribution to the city of firsts. That's why we're having our celebration here. So this is the prime opportunity for us to do so. I thank you so much for your time, and I'm looking forward to answering any questions that you have.
Wow. Again, a lot to digest. Members of the committee, would you like to ask questions? If not, good. Member Young.
Thank you. And I really appreciate everyone's testimony. It was very informative, very enlightening. A question I have is, what are the metrics that we'll use for this bureau to define if it's successful?
So you have qualitative and quantitative. The qualitative that I would like to talk about is our people having a sense of pride and a sense of love, peace, culture, all of the innovation that we provide to the nation. The quantitative is we need to make sure that we have wills. We need to make sure that we have inheritances. I know the presentation isn't up, but there are a series of economic qualifiers. We can identify some of the poverty that our folks are living in. We can identify the education gaps, the issue of 20 schools being closed down, and the oversight that was taking place since when I graduated in 2012, they would talk about closing schools. They did, and then they're doing it again. Just identifying how, redlining has contributed to gentrification in communities that we're seeing never got the investment or never got the promise for what they needed. We could look at the quantitative measures of folks having more employment, folks having more money, folks having more, owning their vehicles, owning their homes. I also want to directly acknowledge and address some of the elements of crime, some of the elements of mother mortality rates, some of the elements of black intellectual property. These are some of the quantitative things that we'll be able to see and measure from this particular office.
So, let me piggyback on what he said. See, all those things that you describe, everything we talk about as far as disparities, problems in the community, all stem from lack of enforcement of the 13th Amendment. All of it. The badges, vested incidents of slavery are not being addressed. You call them whatever name you apply deference. We'll call it public safety. We'll call it LMI. No, when it applies to us, the 13th Amendment is our shield. Everything that we get extends as an expression of the 13th Amendment. It's supposed to abolish slavery. It's not supposed to manage it. There's no budget attached to abolishing the badges of slavery. We have unlimited funds when we're dealing with the badges of slavery, according to Congress. There's no cap on this. So whatever it takes, if we need to build 1,000 schools, the money's there. Lawmakers are not accessing their authority under the 13th Amendment to address anything that's in that slide.
I want to answer the question again really quickly with some specific points. So folks will be able to identify their ancestry and genealogy, biological endowments, their inheritances, wills, and their heirship, and being able to establish beneficiaries, understanding their rights as benefactors, as well as succession planning, identifying the issues of their actual living environment, like the health and well-being of their living, like Nicetown, for example, all of the CO2 emissions in Nicetown. Like, I have a lot on my mind, but that's why I wrote it down. Looking at folks a bit like financial literacy, actual literacy, contracts, certifications, licenses. These are ways that we can actually be able to look measurably, quantitatively. Land, property, real estate, copyrights, trademarks, patents, intellectual property, businesses, enterprises, the measurement of growth of these things. These are the ways that we can actually look at some of the numbers for the success of it.
And thank you for describing some of those ways. And you mentioned a lot of things that I think. So let me ask my question. So why would creating a new agency translate to those into those measurable improvements, right?
Yeah, because our people have a distinct set of human rights violations that no one else has in the country. We have gone through something that has to be acknowledged completely separately than what everyone else has gone through in the country. Not white folk, not Indians, not Asians. Our folk have gone through something that is very distinct and very unique. Like, for example, the police officers had to be trained on how to arrest and detain Japanese Americans, where they, every time, during a certain period of time, maybe 40s, 50s, I'm not quite sure the exact time period, but I want to give you this example. If you were to tell a Japanese man or woman to get on their knees and be arrested, they would start to lash out. Why? Because the epigenetic trauma of kneeling down before someone who's going to detain you is that they would decapitate you in feudal Japan. Why am I bringing this example up? That's epigenetic trauma. That's how they responded to epigenetic trauma. There was a study that happened where police officers were then trained to not do that. Do I need to list our trauma in the country? Now, have we had?
You might have to. People need to know.
That's why I have it on the slide. But have we had that study? Have we had a specific office dedicated to making sure that our issues and our traumas, our human rights violations were addressed with the same attention as everybody else? The answer is no. That's the reason why this is needed and important. And this would not be a country without us. Stop. Well, let me relax. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Young, Member Brooks, and then Member Lozada.
88, something like that. He died at 90 years old. And I knew my grandfather as a sad man, a sad, broken man. And all he would do was smoke his pipe and sit still and just stare at us and stare out the window. This man was broken because they broke him down south. After he finally got his family out from down south up north, they beat him. And he had multiple injuries and he suffered from pain all his life. But he got his family out. This is why I'm here today. My siblings are here today. We have family members who serve in Cuba with Castro. We have family members who are judges. We have family members who prospered because those men, those family members were able to prosper and able to survive and able to produce the next offspring, the next generation. And for us here today to even have a question as to whether or not we should create or recreate an establishment that was sent here to protect and ensure our liberties doesn't really make any sense. It should be a no-brainer. This plantation here is where my great-great-grandfather, and this right here, if you have some more documents, I'm sorry, I tried to get time to print it, but I didn't realize I ran out of time. But this plantation is where it's still here. It still looks really good, doesn't it? This is where, but it holds memories of misery, but also of resilience, of how we can still overcome. And we need this Bureau to make sure that the voices of not just my great-grandfather, great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my father, who are now dead and buried, that their voices are alive in our actions today. That we bring them back and say, job well done. You did it. Because it's not just my ancestors, it's your ancestors and your ancestors and our ancestors collectively that made it so that we can sit here in this location that was not meant for us to sit. So we can sit here and make decisions and create policies that will impact and change in not just the past, but create a better future. We have a fight right now. We are in a battle. And this battle it's not the first time we had this battle. We had this battle through these three generations have been in this battle as well during the Reconstruction period, right? We had it during the Renaissance period. Every time we get, like someone mentioned earlier, we get 5 steps ahead, someone will push us back -3. So this is not the first time. It won't be the last time as long as we're in American territory that we fight this battle. But if we create this Bureau, recreate the Bureau, we will be on, like this desk right here, solid ground. This desk has been around since before any of it, probably during the time my great-grandfather was here, right? So we know that we have no other option. There is no other option but to provide the next generations with a plus 100 step, not a -0 step. So this is our duty, it is our responsibility, and it's our pledge. We have to pledge to make sure that we create the space where our next generations will not have to duplicate something that happened 3 generations ago. And that's my speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your contribution and your great-grandfather's contribution. Ms. Deck, who is our
We have
next?
one remaining speaker, Gail Clouden.
Miss Mama Gail, come on up. Come on down.
I call on our ancestors as I step forward. I'm coming.
Take your time.
I'm coming.
You take your time.
Calling on our ancestors. All of you who are here. They have been here waiting for us to take our place in this place. This was built for us. It was built for us for this time. Take your place. Are we timed?
Take your time.
Are we timed?
State your name for the record and begin your testimony.
I thank the Almighty Creator of all things. As I stand before you, I went into the caucus room, and I was reminded of the day I took my daughter in there. And I said to Leah, this is the wheel God showed me. He gave me a diagram of a wheel. And when I went in the caucus room, I said, this is that wheel. I was told that thank you, that is the healing wheel. It is our time for healing. All that was is no more. One of my godchildren called a couple of days ago, and her daughter's name is Freedom. And Freedom told her, when we die, we wake up. And I thought, that's wild, that's deep. Because when my husband retired at 40 years old, 30 years ago, we moved down south. And I thought I was gonna watch him cut the grass and it grow and him cut it some more. And I went to sleep one afternoon, we went to bed early. And God took me home, took me to the heavenly realm. And he looked at me and said, you have to go back. And I said, South Carolina, Philadelphia. He said, Philadelphia. I didn't know for almost 11 years. I was with Johnny Samples Sports Club when I left. And I was reminded when I came in and I was standing there how Kintu brought me here the first time. So I'm thinking in terms of all the ancestors that I saw here, all the ancestors that I know that are here, all the ancestors that are with us at this moment of change. I reminded my daughter a few minutes ago about us being in a historical moment in Harrisburg when we were there with State Rep Laurie at the time, Vanessa Laurie, when she was going for us getting Juneteenth as a holiday. The following year we went back and it was being signed as a holiday for the state. And right after that, the president signed it as a holiday for the country. So I'm reminded of the historical things, but I wanted to say, as I was going out to greet and say goodbye to a godson of mine that I thought was just stepping out, and I went out, and that's when God revealed some things to me. And so he wants me to let you know what he told me is that it's time for us to remember. We remembered before. When the young ladies talked about us waking up when we die, you're woke. You are woke. It's no going back now. Things have moved forward in such a way you can never go back. It's time for you to take your place. So God told me to let you know what he told me, and that's it's time to remember. That it's time to reconnect, recommit, and reclaim. And I told the school district when Dr. Height was here, God showed me the storm that will hit Philadelphia unlike anything ever before if we don't do right by these children. I was told these are some of the most special beings that have ever graced this earth, this plane. And so one of the things I know, if I don't know anything else, is that we must reclaim our children. No ifs, ands, or buts. There's no getting away from it. You've been given marching orders, whether you want to talk about it or not. Each and every one of us came here knowing what we were supposed to do this time. For me, God showed me many lifetimes that I've lived. I'm here in this moment to tell you what I'm telling you. I don't have a long or a lot to tell you because most of what I would tell you already know. It's inside of you. I'm saying take your place, each and every one, take your place. This is about the God in you fulfilling whatever mission you said, and you don't have to believe nothing I'm telling you. But what if you made an agreement to God before you were born this time, that when you let me come back this time, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say to you all, do it. Do it, do it, do it. I was told that there is no force that can stop this. People talk about fighting. I've never struggled in my life. I don't battle, I don't fight. I say what I say. I was told the fighting is going on the spiritual plane. You know the work that you're here to do, just do it. I tried to figure out being in a slave house, Goree Island, We were guests, a group of us were guests of the president of Senegal. And so we went over to Gorée. I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say it. So I was with Queen Mother, Dr. Dolores Blakely, who is an ambassador of Goodwill to Africa. I've been there for over 50 years. She comes behind Queen Mother, Queen Mother, Queen Mother, Queen Mother. She comes behind Queen Mother. She is and had been, God, oh God, oh God. She had been at the UN for over 50 years. She was almost 100 years old when she died. And I want to say some things, and I'm being blocked for a reason right now. But I want to say to you, when I was in the boat going over the waters to go to Gorée, to the slave house, an ancestor was trying to come to me, and Queen Mother called out. Queen Mother said, "Mama." I went up. Whew. I went up to the captain's loft, and I cried and I cried, or sobbed and sobbed and sobbed like I had never done before. And the captain came in from a different door, and he looked at me, and I saw my father. And I said to him, "You look like my father." And he took me in his arms and he held me. And I felt he held me like a father. I held him like his daughter. He held me like my uncle. I held him like my niece. And he said, "Take the wheel." And I went over and I sat down. We had people traveling who were there for this Freedmen 2010. And I took the wheel, and I had some really cute clothes on, and I thought he meant take the wheel for photographs, because we had videographers and photographers from around the world who were following us to document this journey. And I sat down, and the boat started to rock, so I knew it was for real. I wasn't just trying to be cute, so I said, "Queen Mother, come take the wheel." She sat down. She not only took the wheel and we crossed that water, but she parked the boat. And that was an example to me, to we, that we are in charge. Ain't nobody taking us nowhere ever again. It is us steering the boat. Please understand that when Queen Mother Moore sat at the UN for over 50 years, for us, for reparations, I was told that's the one thing she sat there for, reparations for us. She meant it. When I went up in the mountains with Queen Mother Blakely, and we sat down, and the brother prayed for us, and he said 20 years ago, Queen Mother Moore was sitting in the seat where Queen Mother Blakely is sitting. She was not Queen Mother Blakely at the time. He said to me, "You are sitting in the seat that Queen Mother Blakely was sitting in 20 years ago." When we sat in our seats that were sort of like this, it was like being at the United Nations where we had been, and I had been with Queen Mother and had been before COVID almost 10 years, or maybe 10 years before COVID, sitting at the UN. That's what it was like. I'm telling you, I'm not going to keep talking, but I'm telling you, one last time, take your place. When you're giving instructions and you don't do it, that's the most uncomfortable thing ever. You ain't seen the kind of sickness that can come on you. You don't know the kind of pain and suffering that can come on you when you don't do what you're supposed to do. And that's where free will comes in. Ain't nothing complicated about it. Don't make it complicated. Know that you know that you know that you know and keep walking and keep walking. When there is nothing ahead of you, the ground will grow for you. I'm saying to each and every one of you, peace and love, joy, happiness, integrity. Because when I asked God for words to describe all those years, I said at the school district now, 40 years this year. Even when I wasn't living here, I was coming back and forth teaching people how to get parents involved. To be here in this moment is so historical. To be here in this moment is so historical, and all I can say is what I'm hearing to tell you, they've been waiting for this day. Brother Obono, where you at? Each one of us have been given something to do. And when I was shown and taught people that we're all pieces of a puzzle, the problem comes when you know that piece that you knew didn't belong there, but you took your fist and you banged and tried to make it fit because you didn't feel like looking for the piece that really fit there. I was told the problem comes when you try to get in a spot that's not yours. You got in a spot that was destined for you. And you followed the pattern that had already been set, already had been written for you to take that walk. And so I say thank you with all my heart, because all of us are a part of something so great that we won't even be able to fathom how great it is at this time. But the generations coming behind us will know. And if we let them see us the way they should see us, we're not being seen right now by them. But if we let them know how much we love them, see, we've given them to people that held us. How do you give over the loves of your life to people that don't love you and can't love them? How do you do that? And then you wonder why what we're seeing is happening. So that's why it's really important for all of we to reclaim our babies. They need to know, and we have enough time to show them that we love them, that we care for them. And by giving them over to this system we call education, we messed up. But here's an opportunity to fix it. You have the opportunity to say no to the plan and help us recreate a plan that works for we. One of the things I love to say is that when we benefit, everybody benefits. Let's benefit, y'all, because it's our time. God bless you. I ask that the Creator bless your minds, your bodies, your spirits. Any blockages that you have be removed. When God showed me, when I started to say a few minutes ago what we were experiencing, it's this, and I'm going to go back to the prayer for you, but I have to say this. I asked God years ago, show me, tell me. I need to be able to explain what I see, what I feel, what I know. He gave me these words. I was experiencing these things: gatekeepers, roadblockers, opportunists, neutralizers, and I added just plain liars. That's what we were experiencing. You have the ability to see through that. I'm charging you all to see through the gatekeepers, the roadblockers, the opportunists, the neutralizers, and the just plain liars. With the integrity that I know each one of you have, I know that you were born with it. I'm saying, God, bless them. And I call on the ascended masters who walk this plane as human beings, as spirits having the human experience, but looked as human beings, but were more spiritual than anybody ever knew. I'm asking you, ascended masters, to bless everybody in this room. I'm asking you to give us the courage, the faith, the patience, the integrity, the courage to do what it is we came here to do. And I'm calling on the angels of mercy and grace, and I'm saying to you, thank you to our ancestors that have been with us through God's loving light, to the Christ consciousness. If you say Allah, I say Allah Akbar. God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. Bless your minds, your bodies, your spirits, your neighbors, your families, your friends, those that influence you thinking. I ask God to bless them even more, those that influence your thinking. God bless you. May you do what is right because it's the right thing to do. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your love. And I'm asking God to go beyond blessings with you and give you bliss. Peace.
Thank you, Mama Gail.
Mr. President,
Ms. Stack, is there anyone else to testify?
Mr. President, I wasn't on the list. I didn't know it was a list, but I'm going to give you something that's less than 1 minute. I want to thank every last one of y'all up here for sitting there.
Can you
listening.
state your name for the record?
My name is Brother Phil, and I can't believe the integrity that I'm watching. It's hard sitting there for hours listening. The stenographer is tired. But I just want to say again, thank y'all for having this meeting and giving us a chance to voice our opinion. And lastly, President Clinton acknowledged slavery, and now it's time to take responsibility to make it right. And I thank you.
Thank you. I just want to close with any comments from the committee, but my personal comments are, thank you, Brother Hagins. Thank you for your persistence, your patience with us. Thank you for moving the needle forward. What we intend to do is take this report, give it to the members of the committee as a whole so that we can introduce legislation to create the Freedmen's Bureau. Do you have any? Is that it? This concludes the Committee on Public Safety, and thank you all for your patience and your participation.
Thank you.